Good morning to all, and welcome to this webinar. I'm Suresh Iyengar, Business Advisor with the North Central Texas Small Business Development Center. Today is National Taco Day, celebrated each year the second Tuesday in October. We are the leading provider of assistance for small businesses. We are grant funded, which allows us to offer services at no cost to business owners and entrepreneurs. A quick reminder, we will be recording this webinar and then adding it to our YouTube channel. Today's webinar will be interactive, so please feel free to raise your hand, which is the small button at the bottom, if you have a question or comment. Our presenter is Stacy Kildal. Stacy is an Advanced Certified QuickBooks ProAdvisor, the first one certified in QuickBooks Online, and the first to pass Intuit's Payroll certification exam. She's been a member of Intuit's Trainer Writer Network since 2005 and is also celebrating her 20th year running her Michigan-based bookkeeping firm, Kildal Services. She has 5 cats, 2 kids, 1 husband, and enjoys biking, hiking, kayaking, and snowmobiling. Stacy, welcome. Please take it away from here.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So one of the things that we're going to be talking about today is QuickBooks Online doing reconciliations. And I do want to preface this by saying without an actual, we're not going to be doing troubleshooting. So what we're going to be talking about today is just straight up how to do a reconciliation, whether it is a bank reconciliation or a credit card reconciliation, or you're reconciling a loan account, because that is something that a lot of small businesses don't realize that they need to do, is they need to get their loan statement and reconcile that and make sure that the principal matches in QuickBooks what is showing up on the statement. And so that the interest is properly captured, because a lot of people will just take those loan payments and dump them straight to the principal in their bookkeeping software or their accounting software, and you want to make sure that you do that reconciliation every month so that you are capturing the interest expense and that your loan balance is correct. So the thing is, we're using a test drive. And we have to use that especially for doing bank reconciliations, because if we don't do that and create kind of like a fake bank statement, then we actually have to use real data, and not a lot of people are really keen on having their actual banking information out there on the internet for people. So I just wanted to preface that. So we're going to be doing this, and I'm going to show you kind of step by step. The one thing that I do want to mention before we get going is I want to thank everybody at the North Central Texas SBDC. They are an amazing group of people to work with. If you are in the area, there's a tri-county area that they work with. You definitely, and you are a small business owner, whether you are just about to start your business or you just opened or you've been in business for quite a while, check them out. There are tons of resources. Your local SBDC center is well, I should say the center is kind of like ATM machine, right? Like that's a little redundant. But your local SBDC has tons and tons of resources. And I know personally that everybody at North Central Texas really is invested in helping the businesses in their community really be successful. There's training, there's other resources. So make sure you check out their website or give them a call and make an appointment and just see what they have that can help you get up and moving. As Suresh mentioned, my name is Stacy Kildal. I've been using QuickBooks in some form or another since 1998. The first version of QuickBooks that I owned myself was QuickBooks 1999. And I do believe that was before it was split up into like Pro and Premier versions. The thing about desktop these days is in July of 2024, Intuit issued what is called a stop sell for the Pro and Premier versions of desktop. The Enterprise, which is kind of their big, robust mid-market version, that is still available to purchase. And if you had a subscription for Pro or Premier, prior to July of 2024, they're still going to support that. You can still use that. But if you are new to QuickBooks or you're looking for an accounting software, accounting system, you're going to be looking at QuickBooks Online, and that's what we're going to be focusing on. And I think that's kind of all I wanted to mention about that. So when we're talking about, and you guys are over here, but my screen is over there, which is why I'm going to be looking over there and not at you. I'm not ignoring you guys. Okay, so the reconciliation process, basically everybody, people who are new to QuickBooks and they are using the bank feeds, right? And they connect their bank or their credit card to the bank feeds in QBO. What is happening with that is it's kind of telling QuickBooks, yes, this transaction has cleared the bank or credit card. And so a lot of people will just go through and do the bank feeds, and they don't realize that they still need to go in and do a monthly reconciliation. The reason why it's important, and Suresh and I were talking about this right before we started this, is that there are times when that connection between your bank or your credit card and QBO may break, it may get disconnected, it may not pull in transactions for a few days, or it's possible that some of those transactions could get duplicated for some reason, and this may happen for a variety of reasons. It could be that QuickBooks Online is updating, it could be that the financial institution is updating their the back end, right, updating their website. So it is really a best practice, even if you are using those bank feeds and you're pulling those transactions in and you're matching them up to something that's already in QuickBooks, or you're adding them to your books. It's really important for you to go through and do that reconciliation every month so that you can see and make sure that what is showing up on your statement matches what you have in QuickBooks, so that your books are accurate and they're ready at the end of the year for you to send to someone like my friend Bryce, who's also attending, to do your taxes, because he's a tax preparer. So one of the things that and it happens. I mean, it could be a situation where it may not even be because the bank got disconnected or their credit card got disconnected. I've had situations in the past where checks have gone through twice, or there's a check has gone through and gotten cleared for the wrong amount. I have a couple clients who still handwrite checks, and their handwriting is like doctor level bad, and so he'll handwrite a check and it just doesn't get cleared correctly. It might be a couple pennies off. I had one that was some of the numbers were transposed. So anytime you're off by a multiple of 9, I just want to give you a little heads up in the reconciliation process. Anytime that you are off by a multiple of 9, it means that you've transposed, generally it means you've transposed 2 numbers somewhere. So anyway, so I just want to make sure that everybody understands the importance of doing a bank reconciliation, and that it is super important just to make sure that you or your bookkeeper hasn't made any mistakes. As a bookkeeper, I do make mistakes, so I welcome somebody. I love to do the bank recs at the end of the month because it helps me make sure that I did everything right throughout the month. If you are a small business and you have multiple people working, it's a really good best practice to have the people who are entering the transactions not do the bank reconciliations, to have a different set of eyes on it. That's why a lot of my clients, they're managing and doing everything in QuickBooks, and then I come in at the end of the month and I do the bank reconciliations just to make sure that everything got posted correctly and that it is posted in there. The other thing about doing bank reconciliations is that you want to make sure that everything that you've entered in QuickBooks, like if you send a check out to someone, like maybe you've mailed a check or you've sent a payment out to a vendor or someone, you want to make sure that that check actually clears, because if it doesn't clear, you want to contact the vendor and say, hey, did you receive this? If they haven't, maybe you're going to need to reissue that payment and resend that out. So you want to make sure that is taken care of too, and you're going to do that with the bank reconciliation. The thing about doing it monthly, I'm going to say for my own books, I'm not always, it's kind of a do as I say, not as I do situation. I do reconcile my clients' banks every month, but I don't always do my own. And so sometimes I will go in and I will just take the most current statement and I'll reconcile and put in the ending balance, and I'll try and do one big reconciliation. You can do that. That's kind of a quick and dirty way. I really don't recommend it. I am a big fan of taking large tasks, large projects, and breaking them down into small bite-sized chunks, right? It's the theory that I call Mount St. Laundry. I used to have a laundry chute in my house, and so we would dump the clothes down the laundry chute in the bathroom, and it would land in the basement right in front of the washing machine. Out of sight, out of mind, and so it was overwhelming when I would walk downstairs and there would be a hip-high pile of laundry. So you break that out into different piles. You put the whites and the reds and the darks, and you break that out, and you're going to do the same, I think, with this. So if you haven't reconciled in months and months, don't worry about it. Take it one step at a time, and you're good to go. So make sure you're doing that every month. And the other thing is, and I'll show you this last bullet point, is when you're in the bank reconciliation screen, you know that you are done when the difference at the top of the screen says 0. If that does not say 0 and you have checked off everything in your bank statement versus in QuickBooks, and you've made sure everything matches and it doesn't match, my recommendation is to like step away from it for a little bit and then come back. And maybe you come back in another hour, maybe you come back the next day, and just look at it with fresh eyes. So it might be you didn't check something in QuickBooks, or maybe something was entered in with the wrong amount. Troubleshooting bank reconciliations is a whole separate session that we could spend 2 hours doing. So today we're just going to do the bank reconciliation. So just kind of a little bit of background on why we should do the bank reconciliations. And when I say bank reconciliations, I mean bank accounts, checking account, saving account, money market account, line of credit, loan accounts that you have, credit card accounts. You want to reconcile your balance sheet accounts every month. Basically anything that you are getting a statement for each month, you want to reconcile that account every month. So just FYI with that. When I say bank reconciliation, I mean basically any balance sheet account. So and I'm going to show you this. So one of the things that in QuickBooks Online, and because I'm using a sample, I'm using the test drive, and I did put the links to the test drives in the chat in the webinar environment. You can't really actually connect a bank account. But when you do in your books for your business, when you have a bank or a credit card account connected, it depends on the financial institution. So I know Chase is really good at this. I have a very small bank here in Michigan. They have 2 branches. They're really amazing. QuickBooks doesn't pull statements. So when you have bank accounts connected to the bank feeds and you go to the bank reconciliation screen, you may see, like you do on the screen, where it says view statements. And so that means that, and it may say view statements, but QuickBooks Online may tell you, you know what, sorry, we don't do this. So that button, you're probably going to see that button no matter what. And the best thing to do is just click it and to see if you have those statements. And so one of the things that you'll see when you click on that view statements is the screenshot that you see on the right-hand side of the slide, which shows you all of the unreconciled and reconciled bank statements that it's pulled from your financial institution. So you can see in this screenshot, it's actually showing bank statements that for reconciled months. But if you click the unreconciled tab and your financial institution does allow QBO to pull in the statements, you would see those. So it's really handy for the financial institutions that do this, because it doesn't require you to have to go to the bank and download the PDF and do all that stuff. You can just access it right from within QuickBooks. So I just wanted to call that out. It's one of those things that it's difficult to show in the test drive because it's not an actual working bank account. So I'm going to go through all of the slides, and then what I'm going to do is go into the product and then show you the process of doing the actual reconciliation. Whoops. All right. So this is where you can view the account statements. To do that, you would do it from the reconciliation screen, which you would go to your gear icon and then click on reconcile, and I'll show you how to do all this when we get into product. You can click the view statements. If you don't get the statements, you can go directly to your financial institution, download, download that bank statement if you need to. As a PDF is what I like to do. And I'm going to show you how I do this. And hold on, I'm getting my downloads here. Okay, all right. So I'm going to slide this over here because I'm going to show you guys what I do. Okay, so the next thing is using the reconciliation tool. You can see here, this is just a bank statement, just a fake bank statement. You can see this bank, and trust that I created so that we can do the reconciliation in QuickBooks. This is pretty similar to what you would see on a bank statement. It's going to have your bank name. It's going to show you the period. It's going to show you the account number. If you want, just so that you know, this was my phone number growing up. It's not a real bank account number. That area has a different area code now. Then when you're looking at your bank statement, you're going to have your account summary. It's going to show you your beginning balance. It may show you a total, and it may have a negative amount. It may have it in, parenthetical. It may just show you the total of all the money coming out. And this may be divided up into like checks, EFT. It may show you the money coming out in different lines depending on what type of money out transaction it was in the bank. And then it should show you any money coming in. If there's any interest or there's any fees, it may list those as well. And then it's going to show you your ending balance as of the period end date. And ours is, we're going to pretend that we're reconciling for June of 2024. Then somewhere on your statement, some banks do it differently with bank statements. Some will just have all of the transaction listed, which drives me absolutely crazy, and it just lists everything by date. But like the really good bank statements, I just want to say, the really good ones are going to have all of the money in one section with the total and all of the money out in another section with the total. And that makes your bank reconciliation a little bit easier, I think. If not, it's no big deal, because I'm going to show you what I do with a PDF editor, so I can highlight what I've done. If you don't, and if you're a paper person, what you can do is you can print out your bank statement and just get like a little pencil so you can check off as you're marking them cleared in QuickBooks. You can check them off or you can highlight them. So this is kind of what it looks like. You can see we have our statement, and then when I get to the bank reconciliation screen, you can see this one, I don't have that view statements. If I did, I would be able to view statement and get the statement. This is a situation where this particular account is not pulling in statements. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the account that I want to reconcile. In this case, we're going to do checking. And then I want to make sure that my beginning balance matches my beginning balance or my opening balance on my statement. It does. I'm good. I'm happy about that. Then I want to put in my ending balance. So in this ending balance screen, I'm going to put in the ending balance or the closing balance from the statement, and then the ending date, which would be the end of the month. And some banks, like American Express, sometimes is like the 12th or the 13th. So not every bank is going to do the end of the month. And a lot of banks will actually not even do the end of the month if it ends on a weekend. They'll put their closing date as the last Friday of the month or the last weekday of the month. So just make sure you're careful of that and you're cognizant of the statement ending date, because that's going to play a factor, that's going to play a part in what you see in the reconciliation screen when you enter your ending date in QuickBooks when you're doing your bank reconciliation. So once you get into the bank rec screen, you can see this is what I was talking about with this 0. This is, that your bank rec is done when this difference here equals 0 and you have that gorgeous green check mark. If you have checked everything off throughout them and matched everything and this doesn't say 0, usually I get very frustrated. I'm not gonna lie. I get very frustrated. And one of the things that you can do is you can just leave it and come back to it. And I'll show you how to do that with a set of fresh eyes. And you can actually uncheck everything and start fresh and start over. Or you can just say, you know what, I know that my, the payments here, the money out in QuickBooks matches the money out total on my statement. And so I know that the problem would be here in my deposits. If the total number of deposits that's cleared on this screen matches the total number of money in transactions on your bank statement, you know that the problem is going to be in the money out. So, and you can actually flip between money out and money in and just focus on like figuring out where the mistake is there. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so the other thing that we can do when we're done, when we finish our bank statement or our bank reconciliation, I should say, we can actually go in and we can view the reconciliation reports. So if you are saving, I tend to not save these anymore. When I was very paper oriented, I would always print these out and staple them to the bank statement and then file them for my clients. That was back in the day when I was going to client to client to client. I went fully remote at the end of 2008. So what I used to do is I would print it to like a PDF, and then I would give it to my client and they could print it out, email it to my client, or they could do whatever they wanted. What's cool about this is you don't have to, because you can always go view, and I'll show you how to go to the history by account and show you how you can view any of those previous reconciliation reports and take a look at those whenever you need to. Let's see. So this is a lot. This slide is a lot. I understand that, but I want to call out each one of these. I like this because it really shows all the bits and pieces of the bank reconciliation screen that I probably would forget to do if I was just doing demo. So I'm going to start kind of at the top and go clockwise all the way around. So this right here, these are some shortcuts, and these allow you to go directly from the bank reconciliation screen to your chart of accounts or to the bank register. So if you click the bank register screen, it's going to take you to the register for the account that you chose when you started the bank rec, right? So whether it's a checking or credit card account, it's going to take you directly to that register. You can also go directly to the chart of accounts. So this area right here, this overview, this is kind of what is giving you, it's saying, okay, so your statement ending balance was $5,000, right? Your beginning balance. So let's break these down. The beginning balance. So the first time you do a bank reconciliation, when you first start using QuickBooks, your beginning balance is going to be zero because you've never done a bank reconciliation in QuickBooks. Doing an initial bank rec is a whole different kind of like, let's set up QuickBooks session. And so I just want to call that out. So you actually have to go do an initial bank reconciliation, because this number in QuickBooks, this beginning balance number, this is a cumulative total of everything that a user has told QuickBooks Online has been reconciled. So they have gone through bank reconciliations previously, and this beginning balance is a cumulative total of all of the transactions that have been reconciled before we started this rec right here. The statement ending balance, this is what we entered in that first initial bank rec screen, and we got this from our statement. So if you're wondering, like, where does the statement, the statement ending or the closing balance, that comes from your statement. So now here's the two parts that I really like and I use quite often when I'm doing a bank reconciliation. Oops. So this part right here, this payments, this is telling you all of the money out. This is the total of all of the money out that you have marked as reconciled in your bank rec screen. And you want this at the end of the bank rec to match the total of all of the money out coming that's listed on your statement. So then the deposits, this is all of the money in that you have marked as cleared coming in at the end that you see on your statement. We're not done. You can see here, we're not done because our difference is still $3,300. So if I think I checked everything off and I'm still off by $3,300 and my difference doesn't say zero, then what I want to do, like I mentioned before with that previous slide, is I want to look at my payments in QuickBooks that have been marked cleared and see if that total matches my statement or if my deposits do. If neither one does, I probably have to start the whole bank reconciliation over again and just start checking off all of the things. If one of them matches, I know I need to focus on just those types of transactions. And then this cleared balance is a total of the payments in, like it's basically the total of this. And so there's our difference. So if you need to edit the difference, so this is, you can go in and you can edit the statement ending date as well as the balance. I just had this happen yesterday. I just want to say, I looked directly at a bank statement. I double clicked that total in the PDF. It was the wrong number. It was the completely wrong number, and I copy and pasted the wrong number into my ending balance. I know you're like, how did you do this, Stacy? I don't know. I honestly don't know what happened. And so I was getting really frustrated, and I thought, well, I'm just gonna check. Like, what does my statement ending balance say? Oh, this doesn't match what's on my statement here. So I could go into the edit info and I can change the statement ending date and or the statement ending balance if I need to. The save for later, I refer to this as the save your mental health. Like, this is your mental health, your sanity button. So if you get to this and it doesn't equal zero and you cannot figure out why you can't get the bank rec done, you want to choose that save for later. Just let it go. Just step away, walk away from it, take some deep breaths, go for a walk, whatever you need to do, and then come back. Because it can be a little frustrating, especially if you have a lot. We're going to do a bank reconciliation that has just a few transactions, which is the exception, not the norm. So when you have many, many transactions, especially accounts that have hundreds of transactions, the great thing is that QBO will automatically have everything checked off if you've been using the bank feeds, right? So if you have matched or added something from the bank feeds and you get to this screen, odds are it's going to automatically say zero at the top because it's taking all of those transactions from the bank feed that you have told QuickBooks have cleared the bank, and it's already checking them off for you. But there are times when that doesn't happen, or it may be that you have a loan account or whatever situation. But if you get to the point, you can always say, you know what, I need to save this for later and come back to it. Or maybe you get interrupted, you can do that. The finish now, I'll show you this button in a minute. The finish now allows you to say, okay, I'm done. You're generally not going to click finish now until that difference equals zero. However, there are times where, like I just did a cleanup for somebody and I was just like, I don't know what happened before 2023, but in order to get your cash position correct, I need to enter quite a big adjustment. We can figure out where that came from later. And I'm going to finish now. And if it doesn't say zero, it's going to say, do you want to enter an adjustment? And it will enter an adjustment in the books, and it will either be a deposit or an expense transaction, and it's going to post it to an account called Reconciliation Discrepancies. So if you need to just get your cash position correct, it is the first time that you looked at it, it's possible that you might want to enter that. But I really don't suggest doing that because your tax preparer, your bookkeeper, your accountant is going to look at your P&L and say, why is there something in reconciliation discrepancies? And then you can do close without saving. And this is what I did yesterday twice, where I was like, I gotta just start over. And that kind of just doesn't save anything as being checked off. And it just allows you to kind of like come back, fresh slate, and just start the whole bank reconciliation over. So this is this checkbox. This is where we're going to go check everything off in QuickBooks that we see on the statement. And again, once everything has been checked off and matches the bank statement, you should see zero here. And then this part here is this table that with all of the transactions, it's going to show everything. It's going to show money in and money out at the same time, but we can actually toggle and say, I just want to look at deposits or money in, or I just want to look at money out. We could also choose to filter transactions by different things, so, memo, reference number, amount, cleared status. The other thing that we can do is we can click each one of these column headers, and we can sort these transactions by the date or clear date or type or even amount. A lot of times what I will do when I have clients who maybe they have it's more of a pain to connect the bank fees. I just had a whole situation with a credit union here where it was disconnected for the most of the month of August. And so we were having to manually pull transactions in, import transactions into the bank feeds. I basically I had to, and there were so many transactions, and I knew there were going to be duplicates because we weren't sure when it got disconnected. So I was able to sort it by amount and find all of those duplicates right away and get rid of those duplicates. So, and I'll show you how to sort those. So now we're going to just go directly into both of these. So I want to make sure that I'm just going to scooch this over here. So we have our bank statement here, right? So this is a fake bank account that I created specifically to, I don't want to make it that big, specifically for this test drive. So I put the test drives in QBO. These are basically sandboxes. They're like sample files that you can use in QBO. You can't be logged into your own QBO account in order to use those. So you want to make sure that you logged out or you're using like an incognito browser or a different browser than you normally use. And that way you can actually keep the desktop, you can keep the test drive open as well as have your other, your actual account open. So now we've got our statement. Right, so I'm going to go up to, I'm logged into my QuickBooks Online. I'm going to click on my gear icon and I'm going to go to the reconcile, which is in the tools section. So I'm going to go gear icon, I'm going to go reconcile. It's going to say, hey, usually the first time that you do a bank reconciliation, this is the screen that you'll see. If you don't have any accounts connected, you can connect them here. And then there's also a short video that will show you how to do the bank reconciliation. I'm going to go ahead and click my green action button to say get started. I'm going to say, yeah, let's get reconciled. I'm going to choose my checking account. Before I do that, what I want to show you is here are some video tutorials that you have, right? So these are some links and it opens up, it keeps you on the same screen, which I love. So here are some, this is the first reconciliation, great resource if you're new to QuickBooks Online and you haven't done a bank rec before. And then here's just some standard videos on how to do that, how to fix beginning balances and what have you. So the other thing is we can go to this is our summary screen. This is just basically your reconciliation report. We don't have that. We haven't done that yet. And then the other thing that we have is we have our history by account. Because this is a test drive, we don't have any history because we've never done a bank reconciliation. And again, it's a little different because it is it's a test drive. So I clicked the bank register, right? So I want to go back. I can just use my back button to go to previous pages if I need to. So if I'm in the reconciliation screen, one of the ways that I showed you to get to the screen was gear icon, reconcile. The other way is if you are actually in the bank register, you have the register opened, you have a green action button here where you can choose to say reconcile. It's going to take you right back to the same place. So I've got my checking account. I can see my beginning balance here matches my beginning balance here in QuickBooks or on my statement. What I do is I'm going to, because I work on a Mac, what I want to do is I want to undo that. I want to highlight that. So yes, I'm going to just use my highlighter and say this matches my beginning balance. So right there, I'm good. I know that that number on my statement matches what's in QuickBooks. I'm going to come in here and do my ending balance, and I'm going to copy. I don't want to highlight. Sorry, I don't want to highlight that. Undo my highlight. Oh, come on. There. So I'm going to enter that in. I'm a big fan of copy and pasting from PDFs. And then my statement ending date is going to be 6/30/24, end of July. And I'm going to say start reconciling. You might have noticed this. It's saying, hey, it's ready to reconcile. If I had done a previous reconciliation and something had happened to one of the transactions, and my beginning balance didn't match, maybe somebody edited a previously reconciled transaction, maybe somebody had deleted a previously reconciled transaction, this is where QuickBooks would show you that. Luckily, we don't have that situation, so I can just continue on with my reconciliation. So one of the cool things about QuickBooks, let me close all of these, right? So one of the things about this screen is because I put in my statement ending date, QuickBooks in this screen automatically hides every transaction that is dated after my statement ending date. So I'm only going to see transactions in QBO that are on or before my statement ending date. So there's my statement ending balance. There is my beginning balance. What I want to do here, if I needed to, I could go in and edit. Maybe I entered the wrong amount or I put in the wrong date. And I could say, save that if I need to. This is our sanity button here. So like I could say, hey, I want to save this for later. I need to come back to this. The other thing that I could do is I could choose to finish now if I was done, which I'm not. And the reason why I'm not is because it doesn't say 0. If I say finish finish now, and it doesn't say 0 up there, it's going to say, hey, your difference isn't 0, sister. You've got to go in and do you want to enter an adjustment? And I don't, right? And it's going to draw you back to this go back button, so you don't just say add adjustment and finish. So I want to go back because I'm not done, right? My number isn't 0. But the other thing that I could do is I could choose to close without saving. And so it's going to just say, hey, anything that you just did, anything that you checked off, we're going to uncheck it. And I'm going to say, okay, that's fine. I want to come back. I'm going to do this later. So it takes me right back to the screen where I can go ahead and say 46/25 and put in the date and say start reconciling. So now what am I doing here? I'm going to say I don't want this. Close all that out. The other thing that you can do is if you need a little bit more real estate, maybe you have a lot of transactions, you can click this and it will just kind of shrink everything up and give you a little bit more real estate. You can also pull that down if you need to. This is the filter that QuickBooks by default puts on your bank rec screen, is that it's filtering by the transactions to show everything on or before that statement ending date that you entered. If I wanted, I can clear that that filter out and it's going to show me everything, right? Now, if I reset that statement ending date, again, it's going to show me all of those transactions. One of the things that I also want to point out is this button here that's just about on every screen is I can click on this little hamburger icon and I can hide my left nav bar, and that gives me a nice white space that I have a lot of access. I can see everything, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start looking, right? So I've got this. I know that I've entered this in. I put my statement ending balance in, that's done. So I'm also going to highlight that, right? So now, because this statement, I'm going to highlight that. Because this statement has everything listed, I'm just going to go date by date, right? I'm just going to go down in the order. So I'm going to say, okay, there's $300 coming out. It's check number 10. For $300, I'm going to go over to my screen in QBO and I'm going to look for $300. This is showing that it was on 6/2. I can see that it cleared on it with the date of it is on 6/2. It's the reference number is number 10. It is $300. I'm going to go ahead and check that off. And I'm going to highlight that. Now, if I were using a piece of paper, I could highlight it or check it off. I tend to use a little pencil so I can erase if I have to restart if I have a paper statement. I have not had a paper statement in a long time. So the next transaction is a deposit for $175. I'm going to go over here. And if I wanted, I can just say, hey, I want to just filter by my deposits. I just want to see the money coming in. There's my 175. So I'm going to highlight that, right? I can also say, I just want to see the payments coming in. This is where if something isn't matching, maybe I think I have everything all done and I can see, okay, I have one payment, $175 deposit. Yep, that matches. I know that my deposits are correct. All the money in is correct. This total here in QuickBooks matches the total number of deposits on my bank statement. That's good. So I know that that $250 where that I'm off by is going to be over here in my payments, so I can filter that way as well. And I can say, oh, there's my $250, and I can check that. One of the things that you'll notice is I tried to check it and I actually clicked into this. Maybe it's possible that the check cleared for a different amount, or maybe the check was entered into QuickBooks for a different amount. I've had this happen actually kind of often with credit cards, where my clients will send me a receipt for something, maybe a restaurant, where they have forgotten to send me the receipt that shows the tip. So I will enter a transaction into QuickBooks, or I'll enter the receipt. I'll use the receipt capture in QuickBooks Online, and I'll enter it in for $100 when actually the cleared charge is going to be $120. I could go in here and I could change this if I need to, directly from this screen if I need to. So if that's a situation where it was a manually entered transaction, and it was different than what actually hit the bank, I can go in and edit directly from this screen if I need to. For certain types of transactions, if there is a split, if it's a sales receipt, you may have to click the edit and then go directly to that transaction. And you can see if I do that and I click edit, it takes me directly to the transaction, and I can go edit it here. Once I'm done, I can say save and close, or if I don't have to edit it out, I can just close this. It's going to take me right back to my bank rec screen. So I've got my 250, right? And it matches, and voila, my balance or my difference is 0. So I can now choose to finish now. And I'm going to click that green action button. It's going to say, yay, you, good job, Stace. You're done. I can choose to view that reconciliation report, or I can just say, hey, I'm done. It was 0. I'm good to go. So what's kind of cool about this is the next time you come to the bank reconciliation screen, you will be able to see when it has been reconciled through. So we just finished our June 30th reconciliation. If I go to my summary, you can see I have that reconciliation summary, and this allows me to click on that and get to that reconciliation report if I need to. If I were to go back to the reconciliation screen, whoops, I don't want that. I can do that directly from here. It takes me right back to the starting page for the bank rec screen. And the other thing that I can do is I can do a history by account. And so this will show me, I can filter it, and you're going to look at one account at a time. I can say, hey, I want to look at all the times my savings account has been reconciled. It hasn't. So it's just by checking, and I can see there is any adjustments that I made. If anything got changed after I did the bank reconciliation, it would show up in this column. I can say view report. I can print that report, and then if I want, I can say, you know what, hey, I want to attach that bank statement, and I can drag and drop that bank statement that I have as PDF. This is in case your financial institution doesn't allow QuickBooks to pull in the bank statements, and I can go ahead and click done. And this way, this is really handy, because if somebody is coming in after you, or maybe your tax preparer, or I mean, I don't even know, anybody that needs to be able to see that, or they have those statements directly at their fingertips. And that's kind of it. I mean, that's really doing a bank reconciliation. It was very simple because we only had 3 transactions. But one thing I do want to show you is if I go to this report, I want to show you, because I have a little bit of time, what happens if one of those transactions gets changed after it's been reconciled. So we'll go into this expense for $250, and we'll say, you know, somebody's like, you know what, this was actually only $240. And they go to change it. This has already been reconciled. It's done. We've already made sure that this hit the account for $250. So I don't know why anybody in the world would be going in and changing this, but sometimes it happens. And I'm just going to say go save and close. So normally what QuickBooks would do is say, whoa, 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 whoa. You've already reconciled this, so are you sure you want to do this? Sometimes you don't always get, you don't always get those warning messages in the test drive. But now if I go to my bank rec screen and it's the next month, it's going to say, hey, hold up a second. You're not ready to do your bank reconciliation. Your beginning balance is off by $10. And remember, the beginning balance, our starting balance when we do a bank rec, is a cumulative total of everything that we have marked as cleared. This is one of the greatest things that I think Intuit has introduced to QuickBooks Online, is this like basically reconciliation discrepancy report. And it's saying, hey, it's off by 10 bucks. And then the best part is this: we can help you fix it. Because watch what happens when I click in. It's going to say, hey, here's this transaction. You cleared it. You reconciled it for $250. Right now, it says $240. The amount changed. So it's going to say, hey, let's look at the history. It's going to take me to the audit trail, and I can find out who did this. So I could do some shaming. I can do some reconciliation shaming. I wouldn't. I would use it as a learning opportunity. So you can see here, this is giving you all of the transaction history, when it was added, when it was edited, and you can see, that it was edited today. So I want to go back to that transaction. I'm going to click here. It's going to give me a link. When I'm looking at the audit log, it's giving me a link directly to the transaction. I want to go into that transaction, and I want to click and change this back to $250. And if I save and close, and then I go back to my reconcile screen, now everything is all good. So it shows you what happened. If something was deleted, you won't be able just to go in and edit that. You're going to actually have to go in and re-enter it. But the great thing is that audit log that you saw, right? If we go into our history and I say view report and I just pick one of these transactions, again, that 250, I can go down to more and I can say audit history. Whenever you're looking in the audit history, even for deleted transactions, you can see the audit history for that deletion. So you can see here, every change has been highlighted, right? So it was entered in, and then, whatever edits, it was an indirect edit, and then it was changed. And one of the cool things is I can see everything that happened to it. I love an audit log in QuickBooks Online. One of the neat things is this open variations. This is actually relatively new. So if you click on this open variations, all that's doing is just bringing in that transaction history so you can see what the timeline is. And that's really doing a bank reconciliation. What we did was pretty simple because we only had 3 transactions and I only have an hour really to talk to you guys and explain all of this. But maybe next time we do a series of these, we can do a whole troubleshooting bank reconciliations. So if there are any questions, I can take any questions. And while we're doing that, I'll just leave this up.
Thank you, Stacy. That was so educational.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. What are the conditions under which you would want to undo reconciliation? Say you did it for the past 7 months and you want to go back. What are some cases? Any examples that you can give where you would go back?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, the only way to undo a bank reconciliation is if you're logged in as an accountant user. Otherwise, you have to go in and unclear, like manually uncheck in the register. So if you do need to do an undo, you're going to have to talk to whomever is listed as, ask whomever has accountant user access to be able to do that undo. And that being said, I have a situation where I just went to go in, I got a relatively new client and started working with them, and I could see that there were adjustments made when I went into the reconciliation history. I could see that there were adjustments made in a couple previous months. So I want to undo all of that and kind of start from scratch. I had a situation yesterday where I was off by like $10,000. And so I undid the last month, right? So I was reconciling August for a client yesterday. And so I undid July, went to go redo the July. It was still off by $10,000. And I had to go all the way back to January when someone had done the bank reconciliation and they had marked some transactions as cleared that hadn't actually been cleared. So it was just off all the way back from January. So there's a bunch of different reasons where it might just be off. Like I kept matching and I knew everything matched perfectly, but it was still off by $10,000, and that's because the starting balance was off. So there's like a whole like just domino effect if something happens.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I'm going to share my screen now.
Okay, I will stop.
Hey, thank you all for joining us today. We will be sending out a survey to ask for your feedback on this webinar. These are some of the upcoming webinars, as you can see on the screen. In fact, we have one today coming up in the afternoon, Generations in the Workplace. There are some on cybersecurity, on taxes, more on QBO, HR-related webinars, etc. You can do a few things on our sbdc.nctc.edu website. You can register for these webinars. You can get contact information. You can also schedule an appointment with an advisor. You will also be able to get resources for small business owners. At this moment, I'd like to thank our funding organizations, the Small Business Administration, the State of Texas, the North Texas SBDC Regional Office, and the North Central Texas College. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, you guys.
This concludes our webinar. Thank you.